Hello future tech leaders, I am Sindhuja. Based on my own experience, I know that learning the right skills can shape our future. What if I say learning was as thrilled as the tech world itself? There we go. A cloud foundation, that's exactly what you will experience. From day one, you will be immersed in the interactive sessions and expert-led courses that covers most of the widely used technologies in the zone of data science to cloud computing, which brings more light to the life of a techie. I'm so excited to help you and unlock the true potential of a technology. Well, then why to wait? Let's see what it unfolds.
Because that concept is important one. We should not miss that concept. Function. You're able to see my screen, guys. Great. We have one function. We always denote the function with def, that is define function name. We will take two parameters, that is num1, and one more parameter, that is num2. We will return num1 plus num2. This is the functionality of our function. We define function that we can have some functionality for itself. num1, num2 same two parameters. We will take return num1. Let's take num2 minus num1. This will return us the subtraction. Now we need to call the functions. Before that, we need to define the values. The values can be, I told you values can be dynamic or values can be static. If we want to use it to input the values, that will be dynamic values. And if we have already placed the values for us, that will be static values. Let's take static values for now. We are defining the values now num as 15 and num2 as a stick2. I think I'm doing some mess up here. Let's take 16. Now we need to call the functions. We need to call the functions. What we will do is, basically we will take the value of add. In this variable, we will be calling the add method. We will be passing num1 and num as a parameter, and we will be also getting the value. Subtract is equals to subtract num, and we are getting num. Now we have the value. Now we will multiply both of them. Multiply value is equals to value add into value subtract. If we print the multiply value, we should get the answer is 13. Clear enough what I did here? Yes, we defined two functions. We are returning the proper desired output. We are catching the desired output in a variable, and then with the help of that variable, we are multiplying the values. Got clear enough? Now let's move on to our next topic, that is RISE-T. Once again, I'm sharing my screen. We already covered the basics of Python. We already covered getting started. We are now introduced to Python syntax. We practice the loops, that is for loop and while loop. We also saw f-string restring. And also we worked on data structure, that are list of double dictionary set, the comment and multiline comment. Are you aware of this thing? multi-line comment like 3 quotes. A 3 quotes and the single comment is followed by hash. Hash. Let me show you. This is the single line comment. Let's say if I want to do multi-line comment exactly as you said, 3 quote is 1, 2, 3. And then I can write whatever I wish here. This is the multi-line comment. Also can be set some. Same like hashtag. For hashtag, it works only for one line. And 3 quotes work for number of lines. Yes, let's say we want to include some summary for our program. At the top of it, we want to include some few lines in which we will describe what this program will do. If there, we will use the hashtag. That will not look good because hashtag will dim the line itself like this. But if you use multi-line comment there to add a summary, this will be highlighted. And in green it will be highlighted that someone, whoever is opening the code, will first read the summary, at least which we want them to read. Clear enough? Great. Now we can move ahead successfully to our next topic. That is the Rust Day. Before moving on to this one, I want to know is, are you aware of the Rust API or let's say API thing? Yes, I have gone through a few videos to understand something like application programming interface, like it's a kind of software sends a request to the server. Exactly. In return, we will get a response, yes, exactly. Here this AP, I acts as a messenger like for say Zomato. It uses a mapping. Here, a PI Zomato wants to use the Google Maps interface. Look how maps work. Here Google Maps provides an AP, a Google Map AP. These acts as a messenger to use the maps of Google Maps with Zomato. Yes, basically you're correct that it acts as a messenger to transmit message from backend to front end. Yes? Not only to backend and front end between different systems as well. REST APIs are a very crucial part nowadays. Everything you see on the internet is working on APIs. If you type Google as well in your browser and you get the Google page that is also working with the help of API. In that, what is happening is basically you are telling your web server that return me the page with Google. You are commanding the REST API server. Similarly, there are some operations which we perform with the help of REST APIs. That operations are called CRD operations. CRD. Because let's say with the help of API, we want to create some new data in our system. That will be a create operation. As you can see on my screen, that will be a create operation. That means we are adding new data into the server. Suppose you are using Instagram and you are creating a new user. At that point, this create operation will be performed, which will be responsible for creating, that is, the adding new data. Now let's say you just want to see the feed. You logged in and now you want to see the feed. At that time, read operation will be performed, which will read the data from the database and present it to you. Yes, and similarly for the update operation. Basically, what update operation will do is it will modify the existing data. Let's say you want to update your profile, you want to change your username or something. What you will do is you will perform an update operation, not you, but Instagram will perform update operation that will modify the existing data of your profile into their system. That is the database. In database, they will update your username, whatever you chose to write, and then whenever the next time you will call the read API, that newly update data will be fetched. Now, similarly, there's one more operation, that is the delete operation, that is responsible for removing the data. Clear enough? Like getting the point how RST APIs are performing their work. Now let's say I have a new user. I created my profile at that time. Which API will be triggered? Which operation will be performed? Create. Now the creation is done. Now I'm logging in with the help of my created user. What do you think? Which operation will be performed? Retrieve that you are going to. That is the read operation. Now this was an example of Instagram. But there are many more such examples. Many more websites, have you seen that those websites in which you cannot interact? You can just see the data. That's it. You see the data and you go back. That's it. What do you think? Which operation does that website support? Can only read it. Yes, they are just static pages and we are reading the data. Read operations. Now you're getting the point. Now let's go back to demo. This is the demo I have prepared for you. That is the CRU demo. And always REST API is like this. Not always, but the REST APIs prefer the method of prefer the JSON format. And JSON format is dictionary format. You already are aware of this. For now, look at the code. What do you see is there in the code itself? Can you tell me? Can you? We can see the create, read, update functions. There's create, read, update and delete functions that will be acting as our basically operation. The REST API operation. These functions will be acting as. Do we have only 4 functions? There's more create, read, update, delete, put, patch, post. There are more. But we know this. Others will be like subtypes of this function. The operations are basically for only create, read, update and delete. But the verbs, there are HTTP verbs. I will come to that. They are different. Every AP, I will perform this for operation, that is create, read, update and delete. Everything will be covered in these operations. Because we are seeing the data, deleting the data, getting the data and updating the data. There is nothing more operation we can perform on a data. Yes, you are correct that you can see 4 methods, that is create, read, update, delete. Now I we can now, the API, will interact with the database. Like, suppose you entered your information, that is username and password, in your Instagram login, and when you clicked on login, where do you think the API call will go? To the server. Now the Instagram server. Where will it fetch data from? From the database. Yes, exactly. When you will let me annotate it. This is your login screen. When you will enter login, this request will be going to the Instagram server. And that server will be getting data from a database. This is your DB. Now the DB will send the data back to the server. And then the server will send the data to our user back again. That you will see your login screen once you are authenticated. You did a login request to the server. Server validated that request. Server passed on the request to the database. The database responded with some data. Maybe it is login failed. Maybe it is login succeeded or your username, whatever it is. The server will respond back to the user. Not directly to the user, but the UI application. And then that UI. That data will be visible to you on the UI. UI means the user interface. Exact. This is how the process works with the help of API. For now, let's say we have a database. This is our in-memory database. In-memory means, that is, we are not using hard and fast database, that is SQL or PostgreSQL, something like that. We are just using in-memory database, that we will create the data in memory. And when the program will stop, the memory will erase. Got it. We are basically replicating this database here. Now let's perform some of the operation. What I'm doing? First of all, can you tell me what I'm doing here? Write this at line number 32. Data store. We are creating the data store. What do you think the output will be here? Create a memory store. Yes, it will basically create a memory, and that database will be an empty database. You see, data store is empty now. Now let's perform some create operation. I uncommented this part, and if you can see, in the create operation, I have two parameterized value, that is key and value. For this key, I'm in the data store. For this key, I'm assigning this value. You're getting it. Basically, I'm storing the key value pair in the database. This is how we store the values in a dictionary. Similarly. Now let's perform the create operation. Let me print data store again. Let you will get the thing. Now earlier our data store was empty. Created a user. We created a user. Basically, we are printing here it created, and the key was user1 and the value was this name, allies, and age 25. Now, if I print my data store again, can you see the created user in the data store? Creating data store, you're adding some values to it. Yes. First, the thing is we are setting the data store. Setting up the data store. Without data store, we cannot do any operation. This is an in-memory data store, just a dictionary kind of. When our program is stopped, everything in the memory will erase. Everything will start fresh. Our data store will be empty. Everything, whichever we perform, will be empty. Now you understood what the create operation is and how the value. I am passing it here. Can you tell me the type of key? What type of key I'm passing here? I'm a passing string. I'm passing string. String. Can you tell me the type of value? No one is in the type of value. I'm asking the whole value. It is basically a dictionary type. In the dictionary, what I'm passing? It basically, if you try to decode this thing for user 1, I'm passing name and age. I'm setting the key as user 1 like this key as user 1. And for that key, I'm setting the value as name, alias and age 25. Something like this. Now let's read the data store again. I'm commenting this part here. Now can you see earlier our data store was empty. We created the data store. Now we are performing the reading operation for user 1. Here you can see in the read operation, I passed a parameter that is user 1. Get me the value for user 1. What values were for user 1? This is name, alias and age 25. This returned me this thing. You can see in the red. Clear enough? Yes, present. For now, we saw create and read operation. Now let's see update operation. Earlier or when? For, let's say in the update operation, I'm passing two parameters for which key I want to update and what will be the value. First, in this update operation, I will check if that is present in the data store. If that key is present in my data store, I will update that key with this updated value which I got from the parameter. And I'm just returning the value. That's it. If I'm not finding the key in my data store, I will print key not found. That's it. Now if I run it again, you can see earlier our data store was empty. Then we created some user 1 with this value name, alias and age 25. Now we are reading the user 1 with its value. We got the value name, alias and age 25. Similarly, we are now updating the user. If you can see what difference do you see in the updated user? Is there any difference? If age was 25. Now we have updated the age. This is the update operation. Now let's move on to the last, that is the delete operation. If I delete the user 1, I'm giving it one parameter, that is user 1. And if 1 second someone is knocking, we were on the delete operation. If you can see in the delete operation, I'm just passing the key. And I'm checking with this condition that if key is present in the data store, delete that key and the value. If I delete the key, obviously the value will be deleted. And then I'm just returning the deleted key. Again, let's start. Our earlier data store was empty. We created a user in our data store. We read that user. We saw that the name is Alice and age is 25 for the user 1. Then we updated the user. We updated the age. And then we deleted the user. Once we deleted the user, if we tried to read the data store again, that is again empty because we had only one user. Now let's say if I try to create one more user. User 1 and user 2. Now the whole scenario changed. Earlier our data store was empty. We created user 1. We created user 2. When we read user 1, it was already there. When we updated user 1, we updated the age to 26. When we deleted user 1 in our data store, you can see we still have user 2 in our data store. But if we delete user, 2 as well is delete. User. Now our data store should be empty again. Got any confusion or doubt in this case? The operations you are understanding. The create, read update, delete update. This is just for understanding how the operations are performed. This is not the actual API. This is just a demo. This is not even API. We are just using functions. Now to understand operations first. And always remember that CRUD is the foundation of application development. Every API which you will develop or every API which you will use will be following CRD operations. There will be no other operation other than the CRUD operations which the API will be following. Either the API will be creating something, either the API will be updating, either the API will be reading something or deleting something. Now we saw what are CRUD operations. Now let's see what is REST API. REST API basically constitutes of 4 things, that is get, put, post and delete. Post is used to create the data. That means we are all. What do you understand by the keyword post itself? Like posting stories. That means you are sending some data. Post means basically by the term itself. It will be clear to you that post means create operation. Whenever we are creating somewhere, whenever we are like creating or let's say we are sending some data to the server from our end. That will be a post operation, burn post method. Whenever we are getting the data from the server, that will be a get operation. Whenever we are trying to update any data or update anything on the server with the help of REST API, we will send the request in the port or patch. We can also use the post verb here. And the delete It's clear enough with the delete operation. Let me show you quickly the verbs. You will understand. Post, postman. You want to see my postman screen. If you see within this API, this is called the A API. First of all, now, and this is HTTPS, that is Hypertext Transfer Protocol Secure. This is our server address, that is the domain name, and this will be our functionality address, whatever the server decides. This is how the REST API is like segregated. Now, if you can see, there are some verbs, HTTP, verbs methods. We can say HTTP method, which we will use to perform CRD operations. Yes, there are only 4 operations, but we can use different verbs for that, for those operations. By the name, suggest get. Can you delete what get operation will be doing in our CRD operations? Retrieving the data. Retrieving the data. Can you tell what the post operation will be doing? We can create. Yes, creating the data. And put in patch. Can you tell me what these operations might be doing in our API? We can update. Put in patch. We can update. Similarly for delete, for deleting. And we do not use hidden options. There is no need for using hidden options for now. We generally work on get, put, post, patch, and delete. Even though this put in patch can be replaced with the help of post. In basic, if you think about it, in the create, we are sending some data to the server. We are sending our information to the server that create this user. Yes. And in the update as well, we are sending some data to the server. We can use post operation and create and update both. Any confusion or doubt in this? Now you are aware of what are CRUD operations and what are HTTP verbs. TP methods. REST APIs are basically this. How can I say? The full form of REST API itself is a representation state transfer protocol. State means basically the REST APIs are stateless. By stateless, what I mean is it does not store any information of the user. 1 second. Let me give you a good example of stateless. Stateless means basically, let's say, you are sending some data to the server. With that data, your system's data will also be sent. Is it like your IP address, your server address, your operator, who is your ISP? This all data will be sent to the server. Yes, it will be sent to the server with the help of cookies and session data. Always whenever you are sending any request. When I am telling any request, every time these cookies will be generated. And while you are browsing as well, you sometimes that you got a pop-up that this and this cookies will be shared. And you in that cookies. Basically, what data is there is your IP address, your server address, your ISP information, your digital footprint. Everything will be constituted there in the cookies. Those cookies will be stored in the form of sessions. For now, that's fine if you're not getting it properly. But just for now, think of it like you're trying to get some data from like you're visiting a website. You're on that website, hits a GT operation. But in backend, what is happening is it is storing your cookies in the sessions. Like your server address, your IP address. Until and unless you close that tab, those cookies will be stored in the cache itself to give you the better performance. Sometimes you see that whenever you visit a website first time, it will take some time to load. But similar website, when you visit it second time, it will be quick, like it will be quick enough and it will not take that much time. Why is it? Because what web browser does is basically it stores all the cookies and caches in your browser itself. Have you tried clearing your cookies, caches, history and all? Yes. What you are clearing exactly is this data only. What the browser does is it stores the cookies and all. And in that cookies, what it stores is the images, the static data. Whatever is not going to change. Basically, let's say their website is only sending you the images. Every time it is sending you the images, it will be difficult to get the images from the server every time loaded. It will take time. What your browser will do is it will store the images into your local memory in the form of cache. Every time, whenever next time you will visit the website from the cache, it will first get the images and then load the website. Got? Similarly, what REST API ensures is basically a stateless transfer. Stateless means basically it ensures that all your information, that is your cookies information, cache information, whenever it is sent to the server does not store any session data. Session data about your request and the data which it sends back to you. One second. Basically, in short, it ensures that each request is independent on itself. Does not depend on fetching from the cookies. It does not depend on getting the data from cache and all. Got? This is basically the statelessness of REST API. And the format. The format is always JSON is commonly used. But as we discussed, HR API does use JSON as well as XL data. Now, you see you're able to see my Postman screen. This is an API that is useful for generating token. For generating token, I'm using a post operation. That means I'm sending some data to the server. One question. Is it like a medium Postman for creating applications? No, Postman is a tool in which we can test our APIs. Now let's say we have created our API with the help of our Python script or Flask or Django. But now we want to test our APIs. How we will do that? Postman will be helping us. There is some similar tools other than Postman as well. Many tools are available in the market, but Postman is a known one and very widely used. Now let's say we have this API here. This is the token endpoint which will be helpful for getting us the token. Now this is a post operation by post operation. I told you that whenever there is a post operation, that means we are sending some data to the server. We are sending this data to the server. That is the scope. Client assertion type. Don't worry about this data. Think of it as a username password for now. Think of it like a username and password. The username is 1, 3, 4 and password is also 1, 2, 3, 4. Think of it like this. Got it. We are sending basically the username and password to this endpoint and then trying to get the data. But you see that the response I'm getting is invalid client. This is the error response. That means this user does not exist in my database or there is some issue with my client ID. That is my ID. But you can see that structure of this response, yes? But can you see the format here? It is represented as JSON. Earlier, when I told you that JSON and dictionary are similar, this is what I meant. JSON structure and dictionary structure are similar. But let's say I have made the same call to the endpoint with the correct username and password. Now I got some data, that is the access token and some other data I got. Can you see the type of this response as well? Is it similar? Starting with early business. This is also the format of JSON. Here's our dictionary. Our JSON will end. This is our key value pairs. Got. Let me show you one more response. Is it looking something similar? This API response. This is a dictionary in which we have some key value pairs. This is a key and this is a value. For this link, we have a key and we have a value as a list of dictionaries. List of dictionaries. Got it. Looking similar now. Able to delete. The format of REST API, what it uses commonly is the JSON one, and JSON is similar to the dictionary. And if you talk about our fetch APIs, then FHER uses JSON format as well, XML format as well. Got it. And the last and the most important thing, EST API secureness. How it will authorize yourself and how it will authenticate you. Basically, when you saw in this Postman request, when I sent a request to the server with my wrong username and password, my wrong credentials kind of thing. It gave me a bad request. That is invalid client. But at the same time, when I sent a proper request with my proper credentials, this gave me a response. That is the access token and all. With this token, with the help of this token, I can access resources from the server which I have been accessed to. Basically what I'm trying to say is REST API. I is secure that at every stage. It will either authenticate you or authorize you. It will check for your authentication and it will check for your authorization as well. Let's say if you are a user of a website and you are trying to delete something which you are not supposed to. Will you be able to do that? Let's take an example of Instagram. Will you be able to delete the profile of a different person? We can with the authentication. One second. What you're saying, Ram? Like, if you have the authentication, we can delete it. Not authentication. Not authentication. Focus on the words authentication and authorization. Are they different? Do you understand the difference between the authentication and authorization? Basically, when you will try to delete some other profile, let's say that REST API, I will first check for your authentication. Are you authenticated person? Are you having a proper credentials? If yes, then next thing it will check is for your authorization. Are you authorized to delete this resource? If you are, then yes, it will delete the resource. But if you are not, then it will give you unauthorized access, unauthorized error kind of thing. This is how the REST API is secure enough. At every stage, it will check for your authentication and authorization. If you're trying to get data, also at that stage, also it will check for your identity. Like who you are. Are you allowed to get the data? Now let's move on. Setting up a REST API. Before moving on to this session, I want you to go through some Flask lectures. I have shared the links earlier. Have you guys got a chance to go through that? I have gone through that video, but I don't understand. Let's see. Like I will try it today. Now you will get it. How things are basically. Now you will be able to delete it. What are CRUD operations? What are HTTP verbs they are using? How they're creating the API? If you can remember when you started Flask and now if you start Flask, what is the difference? Would you be able to understand things now? Yes, because now you understand what is the REST API, how REST API works. And what are the verbs? What are the methods we can perform using the REST API? Before moving on to setting up a demo row REST API, I want you to go through this Flask framework once. Pick any YouTube video ranging from 1 to 2 hours. That will be fine enough. That will be like basing, in which they will be basically building some basic APIs. Get, put, post, read. the CRUD APIs and which they will be building some basic CRUD APIs. And finally, do not forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel.